So we have two equations here, and we have to solve for the given variable. So in the first equation, the variable is g. In the second equation, the variable is y. And you can see they look a little bit complicated because of the brackets, but we have to go through them step by step. And the first step to solving these kinds of equations is first to multiply out of the brackets on each side of the equation. So we'll do the first one first. So 4 brackets 2g plus 7 brackets. We'll do that one first. So let's do that. So what we have here is we have a term outside the bracket and two terms inside the bracket. And the two terms inside the bracket are plus 7 and plus 2g. And we have to use the term immediately outside the bracket and multiply that term, which in this case is 4, by each of the terms inside the bracket. So let's do that. So 4 times 2g is positive 8g. And 4 times positive 7 is positive 28. Got an equal sign, let's do the other side. So 2 times positive 5g is positive 10g, and 2 times positive 8 is positive 16. Okay, so now we've got an equation which we can attempt to solve. What we're trying to end up with is g equaling a value. So we have to isolate the g. So first of all, let's try and clean this up a little bit by getting rid of g's on both sides. And the best way to do this is to cancel out the g on one side, and the best way to do that is to get rid of the lowest value term with a g in it. And in this case it's 8g, because 8g is less than 10g. So we do the opposite of whatever this is. So this is positive 8g, so we're going to do the inverse, which is minus 8g, and we do that to both sides to keep the whole equation balanced. So this cancels out. What's left on the left-hand side of the equation is 28, so this constant comes down from here. And on this side, we have 10g minus 8g. That leaves us with 2g. And then again, this constant comes down, positive 16. So we're nearly there. We just have constants on both sides right now. So let's get rid of the lowest constant. So the lowest constant in this case is 28 or positive 16. So positive 16, so let's get rid of that. We have to do that to both sides. And now, what's left on the right-hand side is 2g, and on the left-hand side, it's 28 minus 16, which is 12. Right now, we've got 2g on this side. Now, 2g, remember, is 2 times g. That's what that means. So what's the opposite of multiplying by 2? Well, it's dividing by 2, right? And so we're going to do that by using the fraction bar. So divided by 2 on both sides. So this cancels out. Multiplying by 2, dividing by 2, and then this g is left, so it will be g equals, and on this side 12 divided by 2 is 6. We reformat so that g goes on to the left, its value goes on the right, so g equals 6 is our final answer. On this one over here, let's multiply out of the brackets. So we have minus 6 times 3, which is minus, or 3y I should say, which is minus 18y. Then minus 6 times positive 9, which is minus 54. Don't forget, a positive times a negative is going to be a negative, so we've got minus 54. On this side, we've got 2 times minus 6y, so that's going to be minus 12y. And 2 times positive 15 is positive 30. Okay, so now we can start to solve, so let's start to solve. We want to get rid of the we want to have y on one side only, so let's tidy that up. Let's start with the lowest value term with a y in it, and that's minus 18, so we'll do the opposite. We'll add 18. So we have two equations here, and we have to solve for the given variables. You'll notice that both equations have brackets in them, and so what we need to do whenever we see these brackets in equations like this is multiply out of the brackets, and then we can start to solve the equation. So let's deal with that. We have to multiply the term which is outside of the brackets by each term inside the brackets. And once we've done that, we won't have any more brackets, and then we can solve. So let's start off by going 4 times 2g. That's 8g, positive 8g, remember. And then we've got 4 times positive 7, which is positive 28. And on this side, we've got 2 times positive 5g, which is 10g. And 2 times positive 8, which is positive 16. Okay. So we can actually start to solve this right now. What we want to do is end up with g on one side of the equation only. So let's actually try and simplify that aspect straight away by leaving g on one side only. So we've got 8g on this side, and we've got 10g on this side. So let's sort that out. What we should do is cancel out the term with the g in it, which is the smallest. So 8 versus 10, so 8 is the smallest. How can we get rid or cancel out positive 8? We minus 8. So we minus 8g, and we do that to both sides of the equations to keep the whole equation balanced. So that cancels out. On the left-hand side, we have 28. And on the right-hand side, we've got 10g minus 8g, which is 2g. And then we have 16. We have to get rid of constants on both sides. So again, we deal with the smallest constant, which is positive 16. So we minus 16, and we do that to both sides. That cancels out, and we're left with 2g on the right-hand side and 12 on the left. We're nearly there. So now we have to divide by, this says 2g, right? Which really means 2 times g. So what's the opposite of multiplying by 2? Right, it's dividing by 2. And to show division, I use the fraction bar. So that says divided by, we're going to divide by 2. Do the same to both sides, divide by 2. To multiply by 2 and then divide by 2 cancels out. So we're left with g on the right-hand side, which is good. And on the left-hand side, 12 divided by 2 is 6. Just reformat so that the variable is on the left and its value is on the right. And we have g equals 6. The next one over here, we'll do the same process. So minus 6 times 3y is minus 18y. Then minus 6 times positive 54. So negative times a positive is a negative. So 6 times 9 is 54. And on the other side, we have 2 times negative 6. So again, negative times a positive. That will be a negative. So 2 times 6 is 12y. And then 2 times positive 15 is positive 30. And now we can solve. So let's start doing that. Again, we want to leave y on one side of the equation only. So we're going to get rid of the term with the y, the least value term with a y in it, which is negative 18. So we're going to get rid of that. So how do we cancel minus 18? Well, we add 18y. And we add 18y on this side. So what that means is that cancels out. We're left with minus 54 on the left, and on this side we have positive 6y, and then this plus 30 comes down. We now have constants on both sides. We need to avoid that, so we need to cancel out this side here, so that we will only have constants on this side. So that's minus 30, and that's minus 30. Okay, so that cancels out. This on this side becomes minus 84, and on the right-hand side stays at minus 6y, I should say. This says 6 times y, right? So to do the opposite of multiplying by y, we divide by, multiplying by 6, sorry, we divide by 6. So fraction bar equals divided by, right? 6, and do the same to both sides. This cancels out. That leaves us with y on that side, and on this side, we will have minus 14, put the y on the left, its value on the right, and we are done. We have two problems here, and both of them contain brackets on each side of the equation. So what we do with problems like this, which contain brackets, is first of all, let's rename the equations. And by renaming, the first step we have to do is multiply out of the brackets. So in other words, we'll have a line of working where the brackets are gone, and from that point we can start to solve the problem. So first step is to multiply the term outside the brackets with each of the terms inside the brackets to create that second line of working where we have renamed that initial equation. So here we go. It'll be 4 times positive 2g, which is positive 8g, and then 4 times positive 7, which is positive 28. So that's renamed the left-hand side. Let's rename the right-hand side. So 2 times positive 5g is positive 10g, and then 2 times positive 8, which is positive 16. Okay, so the next step is to try and isolate, try and keep the variable with the g on it, the term with the g on it on one side only. So we get rid, or we cancel the term with the lowest coefficient in front of the variable. And in this case, it's 8g. So this is positive 8g, so we do the opposite, which is minus 8g. And we do that to both sides, so minus 8g on this side as well. That cancels out the 8g, leaving only the positive 28, which is a constant on the left. On the right, we have 10g minus 8g, which leaves us with 2g. and this positive 16 constant over here. We now have constants on both sides and a term with a variable and a coefficient on one side as well. So this is a good thing. We only have g's on one side now, and we want to eliminate constants from both sides. So what we do is we take the constant which is on the same side as the g, and we get rid of that one. So it's plus 16, so we minus 16. So we minus 16 from both sides to keep the whole equation balanced. That's now cancelled out. What's left is 2g on the right hand side, and on the left we have 28 minus 16, which is 12. We now have 2g. Now 2g really means 2 times g. So what's the opposite of multiplying by 2 or dividing by 2? So we indicate that with a fraction bar, which means divided by 2, and we do that to both sides. We cancel out, so we're left with a g on the right hand side and 6 on the left, because 12 divided by 2 is 6. We reformat so that the variable is on the left and its value is on the right, and we box out our final answer. For this one over here, we've got minus 6 times 3y, so that's positive times a negative, which makes a negative. 6 times 3 is 18, and y. Minus 6 times positive 9, so again it's a minus, and 6 times 9 is 54. On this side we have 2 times 6y, which is 12y, and 2 times positive 15 is positive 30. So again, let's get into cancelling out mode. So we go for the variable and coefficient which is lowest value, so that's minus 18y as opposed to 12y. So we cancel out minus 18y by doing the opposite, which is to add 18y, and we do that to both sides to keep the whole equation balanced. This cancels out. We're left with minus 54 on the left hand side and 30y on the right, and it's plus 30. So now we want to get rid of this plus 30 because it's on the same side as our y, and we don't want that. We need constant values on the opposite side to the side which has our variable. So let's get rid of this. So it's minus 30 and minus 30. So let's get rid of that. That cancels out. This becomes 30y. That's all that's left. We haven't touched that this time. And we have minus 54 minus 30. So that takes us all the way down to minus 84. We're nearly there. You can see here that 30y really, and remember, what does that mean? It means times y, 30 times y. So we're going to divide by 30 to cancel out multiplying by 30. We have to do it to both sides. So this cancels out. We're left with, on the right hand side, y, and 84 divided by 30 is negative 2.8. And we just reformat so the y is on the left and its number value is on the right. Box out the answer. Finished.